The Kroger receipt was still warm in my hand. I just bought a rotisserie chicken and a bag of salad for dinner, the kind of meal that takes 15 minutes to assemble and leaves the kitchen looking like a bomb went off. I was standing in the mudroom, one shoe off, when my phone buzzed in my coat pocket. It was the family group chat. We used it for everything: holiday planning, sharing photos of the kids, Margaret's daily weather reports. I had it muted most of the time because Peter's wife liked to send inspirational quotes at 5 a.m. I swiped to unlock and scrolled to the top of the conversation. There was a message from Margaret about Christmas dinner. Then a message from Peter about carpooling. Then nothing. The chat was frozen. I scrolled up and the screen flashed. Elena has been removed from the group. Michael, I said. He was in the living room. Why did your mother kick me out of the group chat? No idea, he said. But he said it too fast, and he didn't ask what I meant. I didn't cry in the mudroom. I didn't cry at all, not then. I put the chicken in the fridge and set the salad bag on the counter and went back to my phone like maybe I'd read it wrong. But the screen still said what it said. I'd been in that group for 8 years. 8 years of Margaret's weather reports. 8 years of coordinating potlucks and birthday gifts and whose turn it was to host Thanksgiving. 8 years of Elena, can you grab milk on your way? And Elena, can you pick up Peter's kids from soccer? And Elena, can you spot me for the utility bill? I'll pay you back Friday. They never paid me back Friday. I walked into the living room. Michael was stretched out on the couch with the remote balanced on his chest, watching a football game. He didn't look up when I came in. That was normal. I'd been walking into rooms for 22 years, and he'd been looking at screens. Can you call your mother? I said. What for? Because she kicked me out of the family chat, and I'd like to know why. He did look up then, finally, and the expression on his face was so practiced that I almost didn't notice it. He looked concerned. The kind of concern you put on when someone tells you they've had a bad day, and you want to be polite about it. She probably just hit the wrong button. You know how she is with technology. She's been running that group for 8 years. She knows how to add and remove people. Elena. He sat up. He set the remote on the coffee table. He did that thing where he leaned forward with his elbows on his knees, like he was about to have a serious conversation. He always did that when he thought I was being unreasonable. You sent that text the other day. The one about what people actually need versus what they want. You have to understand how that sounded. I asked a question. I didn't accuse anyone of anything. To them, it sounded like you were saying they were taking advantage of us. Michael, they are taking advantage of us. That's the entire point of the conversation I was trying to have. He shook his head, that patient shake he'd been doing for years. Like I was a child who didn't understand how families worked. You don't say things like that in a group chat. You should have talked to me first. You should have let me handle it. Handle what you haven't handled anything in 6 years. That got his attention. He stood up from the couch and crossed the room toward me, not angry exactly, but that particular kind of measured calm that was worse than anger. What does that mean? You know what it means. Every time your mother asks for help with the house. Every time Peter can't make his car payment. Every time his wife needs money for the kids' school supplies. You say yes. You don't talk to me. You just say yes, and I find out when I check the checking account. Those are my family. I'm your family too. He made a sound, half laugh, half sigh. The sound he made when he thought I was being dramatic. Elena. My mother is 74 years old. Peter lost his job. What was I supposed to do? Let them starve? Peter lost his job 6 years ago. He's been working at the warehouse for 4 of those years. He's not starving. He's buying new trucks and going on vacations and texting me every other month because he needs another 500 for this or another 1,000 for that. He has kids. So do we. Our kids. Remember them, they're in college. They have loans. They've been working part-time jobs because we told them we couldn't cover everything. I heard my voice going up, that edge that I'd learned to flatten over the years. I let it go. I have a master's degree, Michael. I worked for 15 years to get where I am. And I'm standing here asking you if your mother kicked me out of a group chat for being negative and you're telling me I should have been nicer about it. He didn't answer. He picked the remote back up. That was his move, walk away when the conversation got too real and pretend it didn't happen. He sat back down on the couch and pointed the remote at the television and the game came back on. Commercials. Something about insurance. You're overthinking this, he said to the screen. I'll call her tomorrow. She'll add you back. It's not a big deal. They didn't add me back. I know because I checked my phone every hour for the next 2 days. I wasn't stalking it. I wasn't obsessing. I was just checking. Like checking a wound to see if it was still bleeding. The notification was gone. The chat was gone. 8 years of messages, 8 years of photos and inside jokes and Margaret's god-awful weather reports, all gone because I asked one question. I got up at 6 the next morning and opened my laptop. I'd been keeping a spreadsheet for years. Not because I didn't trust them, I did trust them back then. I kept it because I was an accountant by training and it was just how my brain worked. Every time Michael said, "My mom needs help," I logged it. Every time Peter texted, "Can you spare a couple hundred?" I logged it. Every payment, every date, every reason given. ID never added up the numbers. Not altogether. Not with a formula. I watched the total climb as I highlighted the rows and hit sum. My hand started shaking around 11,000. By the time it hit 14,000, I had to stop and go get a glass of water. $14,200. Over 6 years. That's what I'd given them. Not loaned. Given. Because that's what the text said: spare, help, can you cover this? I owe you, I'll get you back. But I'd never seen any of it come back. I'd never expected it to. That was the part that got me when I thought about it later. I'd never once expected repayment. I'd only ever expected gratitude. I looked at the spreadsheet for a long time. Then I closed the laptop and went to work. I sat in traffic and thought about the group chat and the way Michael had said, "No idea," too fast. I thought about the look on his face when I'd asked him to call his mother. I thought about 6 years of "Can you help?" and 6 years of yes from him and 6 years of me being the one who actually paid. I worked a full day. I returned emails. I ran reports. I smiled at clients. I came home at 6 and Michael was on the couch again. He'd made himself a sandwich. There was a plate on the coffee table with crumbs on it, crumbs that I would probably have to vacuum up because he never vacuumed. "Did you call her?" I said. "It's not a good time. Peter's kids are there. She's stressed." Michael. "It's a group chat, Elena. It doesn't matter. It's the internet. It's not real. It matters to me." Why does it matter so much? You barely even post in there. It matters because I was in it for 8 years and then I got removed without a single person telling me why. Not even you. You didn't tell me. You said no idea and I still don't know what actually happened. Did your mother remove me? Did Peter? Did his wife? Did you? Was it you, Michael? He stood up so fast the plate fell off the coffee table and shattered. He didn't look at the plate. He looked at me with something that might have been anger or might have been fear. I couldn't tell anymore. I'd forgotten how to read his face. "Why would I do that?" he said. "I don't know. That's what I'm asking." Unbelievable. You come in here after a long day and you're just— He stopped. He ran both hands through his hair. That was the gesture he made when he was trying to calm himself down. "I didn't remove you." Okay, I didn't do it. But if I had, maybe it would have been because I'm tired of walking on eggshells. You've been so— Say it. I've been so what? He didn't say it. He picked the remote back up. That was the 3rd time in 2 days. Michael and the remote and the television. The world he could control. I left the plate on the floor and went upstairs. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I felt something I hadn't felt in 22 years, which was the absolute certainty that I was being lied to. They didn't even tell me why. The plate stayed on the floor for 3 days. I didn't pick it up. Michael didn't pick it up. It sat there like a piece of evidence, ceramic shards scattered across the hardwood, and every time I walked past it I thought about the sound it made when it hit the ground. That sharp crack. That finality. I thought about it a lot, actually. The crack of the plate. The way Michael didn't look at it. The way he'd walked away from the mess he'd made and left me to decide whether to clean it up. I made a decision, finally, but it wasn't about the plate. The next weekend I sat down at my desk with a mug of coffee and my laptop and I started downloading every Venmo transaction, every bank statement, every screenshot I'd ever taken of a text from Margaret or Peter's wife, the ones that said, "I'll pay you back on Friday," or "I owe you one," or "You're a lifesaver." I'd been taking those screenshots for years. I wasn't sure why. Maybe because some part of me already knew I'd need them. Maybe because I was an accountant and accountants don't trust memory. The spreadsheet grew. I added columns for the date, the amount, the reason given, the person who asked. I color-coded it. Yellow for Margaret, blue for Peter, pink for his wife, green for the times Michael had asked on their behalf without telling me. That was the part that hurt most when I really looked at it. The green rows. The ones where the money came out of our joint account and I didn't find out until I balanced the checkbook at the end of the month. 400 for Peter's car repair. 300 for Margaret's dental work. 200 for a birthday gift from Peter's kids to their grandfather, a man who'd been dead for 6 years. I stopped counting at 14,200. That was the number I'd already found. I didn't need to find more. I'd already found enough. I printed everything. I put it in a 3-ring binder. I tabbed it by year. I took it to work with me on Monday and left it in my filing cabinet under personal. I didn't tell Michael I was doing any of this. I didn't tell anyone. I just kept going to work and coming home and acting like nothing had changed. Except everything had changed. I started noticing things I'd stopped noticing years ago. The way Michael answered his phone when his mother called. The way he'd go into the other room and close the door. The way he'd say, "That was my mom," when he came back, but he wouldn't tell me what she wanted. I'd stopped asking because I didn't want to seem like I was monitoring him. I didn't want to be that wife. But I was that wife now. I was definitely that wife now. I checked the bank accounts every morning. I checked them the way I used to check my kids' homework, looking for mistakes, looking for patterns. On a Tuesday, 2 weeks after the group chat thing, I found it. It was a savings account I didn't recognize. I was going through our tax documents, the ones Michael had dropped on my desk with a sticky note that said, "Need these by Friday." He always did that. Dumped the paperwork on me and walked away. And I always did it because I was the one who understood numbers, the one who could read a 1099 without having to Google what it meant. The account was listed on one of the 1099 INT forms. An online bank I'd never heard of. The interest was reported, which meant there was money in it. The routing number didn't match any of our accounts. I copied it into my phone and searched it. It was Peter's bank. The same bank where Peter had his checking account. The one I'd deposited money into dozens of times over the years. I closed the laptop. Michael was in the other room watching football. It was always football. It had been football for 22 years, and I was suddenly aware of every single commercial break, every single time he muted the sound to take a call, every single time he got up to go to the kitchen and came back with a beer. I walked into the living room and sat down on the opposite end of the couch. He didn't look up. He never looked up. "Michael," I said. "I need you to explain something." "Can it wait?" "No." He turned his head, slow, like he was annoyed at being interrupted. "What? Whose account is this?" I showed him the phone. The routing number. The bank name. The 1099 INT form that I'd found hidden in his paperwork. He looked at the screen. Then he looked at me. Then he looked back at the screen. "That's not mine," he said. "The account is listed on your tax documents. Under your name. Elena, I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do. It's the same bank where your brother has his checking account. The one we've been sending money to for years." He stood up. He actually stood up and walked away from me, toward the kitchen, like if he got far enough away from the phone it would stop existing. I followed him. "Michael, I don't have time for this right now. I have a work thing tomorrow." "What work thing?" "None of your business." I stopped following him. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen and watched him open the refrigerator and stare at nothing. He was nervous. I hadn't seen him nervous in years. Not since our second wedding anniversary when he forgot to buy a gift and tried to pass off a last-minute bouquet as a statement about love. He'd done that same thing then. Opened the refrigerator and stared at it like it held answers. "How much?" I said. "How much what? How much money did you transfer to your brother?" "I didn't transfer anything." "Michael, I have the 1099 INT. I know the account exists. I know it's in your name. I know Peter has the same routing number. So I'm going to ask you one more time and then I'm going to find out on my own. How much?" He closed the refrigerator. He turned around and looked at me with that practiced concern again, The face he put on when I was being unreasonable. Elena, listen to yourself. You're talking to me like I'm a criminal. I'm talking to you like someone who's been hiding something. I haven't been hiding anything. Then what is the account? He didn't answer. He walked past me, back toward the living room, and I caught his arm. I don't know why I did it. I'd never grabbed him before. Not once in 22 years. But my hand was on his arm and he stopped and looked at me, and I saw it in his eyes. Guilt. It was guilt. Pure, simple, the kind you can't hide. It's $8,000, he said. I let go of his arm. It's $8,000, he said again. I've been putting a little aside every month. I was going to surprise you. For our anniversary. Something special. You transferred $8,000 to an account at your brother's bank. For a surprise. For our anniversary. It was going to be a trip. A cruise. Something you'd like. A cruise. Yeah, a cruise. I was going to ask Peter to help me plan it. That's why the routing numbers match. He was a terrible liar. He'd always been a terrible liar. That was the thing about Michael. He could pretend to be fine. He could deflect and avoid and change the subject, but when he actually lied, you could see it. The way his eyes went a little glassy. The way his voice went up at the end of every sentence, like he was asking for permission to be believed. Do you know what a cruise costs? I said. What a cruise? For 2 people. A nice one. How much do you think it costs? He opened his mouth and closed it. $3,000, I said. Maybe $4,000 if you get a balcony room. So why $8,000? I don't know. I was saving extra. For what for? I don't know. Spending money. Drinks. Excursions. $8,000 in spending money. He didn't answer. He pulled his arm out of my grip and walked back to the couch and sat down. He didn't turn the game back on. He just sat there with the remote in his hand and stared at the blank screen. I sat down too. Across the room, not next to him. I wanted to be able to see his face. Michael, I said. You have never planned a surprise for me. Not once in 22 years. Not a birthday party, not an anniversary dinner. You don't do surprises. You're not good at them. You hate them. That's not true. Name one. Name one surprise you've ever planned for me. He was quiet for a long time. I counted the seconds. 23 of them. Okay, I said. So let's try this again. What is the account? And don't say cruise. He put the remote down. He rubbed his face with both hands. He did that thing where he was trying to compose himself, trying to find the right words, trying to figure out what he could tell me that I'd believe. Peter needed help, he finally said. He was behind on some stuff. Mortgage payments. He was going to lose the house. So you gave him $8,000. Not all at once. Over time. A few hundred here and there. From your account. The one you didn't tell me about. Elena, he's my brother. He was in trouble. You don't understand what it's like. I don't understand what it's like to have a brother. I have a sister. She lives in Illinois. She's never asked me for a dime. That's different. How is it different? Because my family is closer than yours. We take care of each other. I laughed. I actually laughed, and it came out sharp and cold and nothing like me. You take care of each other, Michael. I've been taking care of your family for 6 years. I've been paying for everything. Medical bills. Groceries. School supplies. Car repairs. I've been the one saying yes. I've been the one handing over the money. Your money. What are your money? Not mine. Our money. It's our money. You're always talking about it like it's yours. I stood up. I didn't plan to stand up. My body just did it. I stood up and walked to the kitchen and poured a glass of water and drank it and poured another one. I was trying to think of something to say. Something that wouldn't make this worse. What phase? I said. He didn't answer. You told me your family thinks I'm going through a phase. What phase? What did you tell them about me? I didn't know you did. I know you did. I've been hearing it for months. Your mother's little comments about me being stressed. Peter's wife asking if I'm okay. They've been treating me like I'm some kind of problem, and I didn't understand why. But now I do. You told them I was difficult. You told them I had issues with money. You told them I was negative. He was shaking his head, but he wasn't denying it. He was just shaking his head like I was impossible. Did you? I said. I said you were going through a hard time. Because of what? Because of your job. Because of the kids leaving for college. Because I don't know, Elena. You've been different. You've been harder to be around. I've been harder to be around because I asked why we were paying for Peter's car repairs when he just bought a new truck. You don't get it. You don't understand family. I understand family. I'm the one who's been holding it together for 6 years while you got to be the hero. I'm the one who paid for everything and never said a word. I'm the one who took your mother to every doctor's appointment when she couldn't drive. I'm the one who watched your brother's kids after school. I did all of that. I did it without complaint. And you told them I was negative. Michael was in the other room watching football. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling and listened to Michael breathe. He'd come to bed like nothing happened, like we hadn't had a conversation that cracked something open between us. That was his superpower. The ability to just move on. To act like words didn't matter once they'd been spoken. I'd always envied that about him. Now I just found it pathetic. At 3 a.m. I got up and went back to my laptop. I pulled up the spreadsheet again. 14,200. That was the number I'd given them. 8,000 more that Michael had given Peter without telling me. $22,200 total. Over 6 years. That was almost $4,000 a year. That was a mortgage payment. That was a car payment. That was a semester of our daughter's tuition. I started a new spreadsheet. This one was for the conversations. I opened my texts with Peter and started copying them in. Every single request. Every single promise to pay me back. Every single time he'd said, "I'll get you on Friday," and I'd said, "Don't worry about it," because I was too polite to say, "Yes, you will. You're such a lifesaver." That one was in there a lot. Don't know what we'd do without you. We'll make it up to you somehow. Bless you, Elena. You're the best. I had to stop reading after an hour. Not because I was upset. Because I was angry in a way that felt dangerous. I didn't want to be a person who got angry like that. I wanted to be a person who could walk away clean. I closed the laptop and went to work. The office was quiet that morning. My assistant, Rachel, brought me coffee and asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. She didn't believe me. Rachel had been my assistant for 9 years, and she could read me better than my husband could. You look like you haven't slept, she said. I haven't. Anything you want to talk about? No. She nodded and left the coffee on my desk. She was good at that. Knowing when to push and when to back off. I drank the coffee and stared at my computer screen and tried to remember what I was supposed to be doing. A report. Some kind of report. It didn't matter. I called in sick at 10 a.m. I'd never called in sick in my life. Not for a cold, not for the flu. I went to work with a fever once. Rachel had to drive me home. But that morning I called and said I wasn't feeling well, and Rachel said she'd handle my meetings, and I said thank you and hung up. I drove to Margaret's house. It was a 40-minute drive, which was convenient. 40 minutes to talk myself out of it. 40 minutes to realize this was a terrible idea. 40 minutes to turn around and go home and forget the whole thing. I didn't turn around. I kept driving. I parked in front of the house I'd been visiting for 22 years, the house where Michael grew up, the house where we'd celebrated every Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter. Margaret's front garden looked the same as always. Well-maintained. She took pride in her yard. I stood on the porch and rang the bell and waited. When she opened the door, she looked surprised to see me. Not upset. Surprised. Like I was a package that had been delivered to the wrong address. Elena, she said. This is unexpected. I need to talk to you. She stepped aside to let me in. I'd been in that living room 100 times. The same floral sofa. The same oval mirror above the fireplace. The same ceramic angels on the mantelpiece that she dusted every Sunday. I sat down without being asked. That was probably rude. I didn't care. Is everything okay? She said. She sat across from me. Her posture was perfect, like she was posing for a portrait. No, I said. It's not. Michael said you were going through a rough patch. Michael said a lot of things. I'm here because I need you to tell me why you removed me from the group chat. She blinked. That was the only reaction. A single blink. The group chat, yes. The family group chat. The one I've been in for 8 years. You removed me. Oh, honey. She leaned forward. She was doing the concerned thing, the same thing Michael did. That practice care. I didn't remove you. I don't know how to remove people from things. Peter's wife, she does all that technical stuff. So she removed me, I don't know. Maybe. They were saying you were upsetting everyone. Upsetting everyone how? She was quiet for a moment. She was weighing her words, I could see it. The calculation behind her eyes. You sent that text. About people needing to be honest about what they really need. It made things uncomfortable. I asked a question. Elena, that wasn't a question. That was an accusation. Everyone felt it. Peter was very hurt. The children were confused. The children are teenagers. They don't read the group chat. They saw their father upset. That was enough. I counted to 10 in my head. It didn't help. I counted to 20. That didn't help either. Margaret, I said. I have been sending money to this family for 6 years. 6 years of Peter losing his job and you needing help with the house and the kids needing school supplies. I have never once said no. I have never once complained. And the one time I ask a question, I get removed from the group chat. She didn't answer. She did that thing old women do where they look at you with pity. Like you were too young to understand how the world worked. Peter has been working for 4 years, I said. He has a steady job. He just bought a new truck. That truck was used. Margaret. I saw the listing. It was $38,000. He needed a reliable vehicle for work. He has a company van. He needs the truck for personal things. Personal things like what trips to the lake vacations to Florida. He's been sending me photos from Florida. From Disney. With the kids. Meanwhile, I'm paying for his groceries. She stood up. That was the first real reaction I'd gotten from her. She stood up and smoothed down her dress and walked to the window. You're very angry, she said. I can see that. I understand why you'd be upset. But you're directing it at the wrong people. Who should I be directing it at? Michael, I suppose. He's the one who put us in this situation. I waited. She didn't turn around. What situation? I said. He told us you were having trouble with money. He said you weren't handling things well. He asked us to be patient with you. Patient with me. He said you'd been making mistakes at work. That you were worried about losing your job. He said you were taking it out on everyone. I stood up too. I walked toward her. Not aggressive. Just moving. Just getting closer so I could see her face. When did he tell you this? I don't remember. A while ago. How long is a while? Maybe a year. Maybe more. I sat back down. I sat back down because my legs didn't want to hold me anymore. A year. Michael had been telling his family I was having work problems for a year. He'd been setting me up. Positioning me as the unstable one. The one who couldn't be trusted. The one who was negative. Margaret, I said. I haven't made a mistake at work in 5 years. I'm up for a promotion next quarter. I'm not losing my job. I never was. She didn't say anything. She just stood there by the window with her back to me. Michael told you I was struggling, so you'd feel sorry for him. So you'd think he was the one holding everything together. So you'd stop asking him for money and start asking me. Elena, I think you should leave. I want my money back. She turned around. Her face was hard. That was the real Margaret. The one under all the concern and the pity and the grandmotherly act. Excuse me, the money I've been giving you. All of it. I want it back. You gave that money freely. I did. Because I was told it was temporary. Because I was told Peter was going to pay me back. Because I was told this was an emergency and it would stop. But it hasn't stopped. It's been 6 years. And I want it back. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. I've documented everything. Every transaction. Every text. Every promise. I have spreadsheets, Margaret. I have printed copies. I have all of it. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Michael would never allow this. Michael doesn't get a vote. This isn't his money. This is my money. My job. My paycheck. I'm the one who's been paying for this family. I'm the one who's been saying yes. And I'm done. You can't just come into my house and demand I can. I am. You have 30 days. I want the full amount. $14,200. Not including the $8,000 Michael gave Peter. That's between him and Michael. But the $14,000, that's mine. I want it back. Her mouth opened and closed. She looked like a fish. I'd never seen her look like that before. It was almost satisfying. "Get out of my house," she said. "I'm leaving. But I'm not done. And when I come back, I'm going to bring the spreadsheets." I walked out the door and down the front steps and got in my car. My hands were shaking. I sat in the driveway for a full minute before I could start the engine. I looked in the rearview mirror and Margaret was standing in the doorway, watching me. I drove home. I drove home and I didn't cry. I didn't feel like crying. I felt like someone had just handed me a very sharp knife and I was trying to figure out what to do with it. Michael was on the couch when I got home. Football again. It was always football. He looked up when I came in. He did a double take. Maybe I had a look on my face. "Where have you been?" he said. "I went to see your mother." He sat up. The remote fell off his chest. "What? I went to see your mother." We had a conversation. She said some interesting things. "Elena, what did you do?" "I didn't do anything." I asked questions. She told me you've been telling everyone I'm having work problems. That I'm about to lose my job. That I'm not handling things well. I want to know why you did that. "I never said that." "Margaret said you said it." "She's old. She gets confused." "She's not confused. She's very sharp." She knew exactly what she was saying. She told me you'd been asking them to be patient with me, to understand that I was going through a difficult time, to give me space. Michael stood up. He was angry now. I could see it. His jaw was tight. His hands were in fists at his sides. "You went to my mother's house and interrogated her." I asked her why I got removed from the chat. "She told me you asked them to be patient with me." "I didn't ask them that. I told them you were stressed." "That's different." "How is that different? Because you are stressed. You've been stressed for a long time. You're hard to be around, Elena. You're cold. You're judgmental. You think everyone is out to get something from you. You're always tracking things. Always accounting. Always keeping score. It's exhausting. Keeping score. Like the spreadsheet you found. The spreadsheet, I saw it on your computer. A year ago. I saw what you were doing. Keeping track of every penny you gave my mother. My brother. You couldn't just help them. You had to keep a record of it. Of course, I kept a record of it. $6,000, Michael. 14,000. Do you know what that money could have been? A retirement fund. A vacation for us. A down payment on a second property. I've been giving it away and you've been making me feel like I'm the bad guy for noticing. You're not the bad guy. You're just say it. Say the word. You've been saying it behind my back for a year. You might as well say it to my face. He didn't say it. He walked away. He walked toward the stairs and I followed him. Negative, I said. That's the word. Negative. That's what you've been telling everyone. That's what your mother said. She said I was negative. She said that's why I got removed. You told them I'm negative. I didn't say negative. I said difficult. What phase? Michael, what is the phase? He stopped on the stairs. He was 3 steps up, which meant I had to look up at him, and I hated that. I'd been looking up at him for 22 years. It was about time he came down to my level. The phase, I said again. What is it? Elena, don't Elena me. You told your mother I was going through something. You told your brother's wife to be patient with me. You told them I was having work problems. You told them I was losing my job. What exactly is the phase? What did you tell them? He came down the stairs. Slowly. Like he was trying to buy time. I told them you were having a hard time with the kids leaving. Empty nest. It's a real thing. Women go through it. I didn't go through anything. I was fine. I was happy for them. I helped them pack their dorm rooms. I cried happy tears. You're the one who couldn't look at their empty bedroom without drinking a bottle of wine. That's not true. It's absolutely true. You walked into Natalie's room after she left and you sat on her bed for an hour. I had to come get you for dinner. He shook his head. You're rewriting things. I'm not rewriting anything. I'm telling you what happened. You were the one who was sad. You were the one who couldn't handle it. I was fine. I am fine. But you told your family I was struggling. Why? He didn't answer. He just stood there on the bottom step, looking at me with that expression that I used to think was thoughtfulness. It wasn't thoughtfulness. It was deflection. It was him trying to find a way out. Let me guess, I said. You needed them to feel sorry for you. That's naughty. You needed them to think you were the long-suffering husband. The one married to the difficult wife. The one who stayed even though things were hard. So when you asked them for money, when you told them I was the one who had the job, when you needed them to understand why you couldn't just give them whatever they wanted, you had to make me the problem. His face changed. I saw it. A flicker. A cracked dot. I have been supporting this family for 6 years, I said. I have been the one saying yes. I have been the one watching the accounts. I have been the one who didn't complain. And you used all of that to make yourself look like the good guy. Whoa, what is the phase? Michael, what is the phase? He said it back to me, mocking me. You want to know? Fine. The phase is this. The phase is you. It's always been you. You with your spreadsheets. You with your tracking. You with your constant measuring. You can't just give someone something. You have to document it. You have to hold it over them. I have never held anything over anyone. You're holding it over me right now. I'm holding it over you because you hid $8,000 from me. That's not the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, Elena. You've been building a case against my family for years. You've been waiting for this moment. The moment you could show everyone how right you were. I laughed. I couldn't help it. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to find out my husband was hiding money from me? You think I wanted to discover that my in-laws have been treating me like a charity case? Nobody treated you like a charity case. They took my money. They took it, and then they called me negative when I asked a question. They kicked me out of the group chat. They made me the villain in their story. And you helped them do it. Enough, he said. Enough is enough. He walked past me. He walked into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator, and I watched him do it, and I realized something. I realized that the refrigerator was his safe space. His hiding place. When he didn't know what to say, he stared at the shelves. When he couldn't face me, he looked at the milk and the eggs and the leftovers. I followed him in. I stood in the doorway. I let him stare at the shelves for as long as he wanted. I'm going to call Peter, I said. He turned around. Why? Because I want to know if he knew about the 8,000. He didn't know. He doesn't know. It was supposed to be a surprise. I thought you said it was a cruise. It was a cruise. It was going to be a cruise. The money was for a cruise. Peter was going to help me plan it. I thought he didn't know. He doesn't know about the money. I was going to tell him after. You're lying. I'm not lying. You're lying, Michael. You're lying and you're terrible at it. You always have been. That's the one thing I can count on. You're a terrible liar. So, let me tell you what I think happened. I think Peter asked you for money. I think he asked you directly. And I think you gave it to him without telling me. Because you knew I'd say no. He closed the refrigerator. He didn't say anything. At $8,000, I said. That's a lot of money. That's not a couple hundred here and there. That's $8,000 over 18 months. What did he need it for? He was quiet for a long time. What did he need it for, Michael? He was in trouble. What kind of trouble? Debt? Credit card debt. He was about to default. He was going to lose the house. So you gave him $8,000. I couldn't let him lose the house. The kids. You know how it is. I don't know how it is. I don't know why you'd hide that from me. I didn't hide it from you. I was going to tell you. I was waiting for the right time. The right time has been 18 months. When exactly was it going to be? After he lost the house anyway, after we lost the money and didn't even get to see a result, he opened his mouth and closed it. That was his other move. The fish thing. Like Margaret. Like mother, like son. I'm done with this, I said. I'm going to call Peter. I'm going to ask him. And if he lies to me, I'm going to show him the spreadsheet. Don't do that. Why not? What are you afraid of? I'm afraid of you. Of what you're becoming. I looked at my husband. My husband of 22 years. The man I'd loved since I was 25. The man who'd promised to take care of me and then let me take care of everyone else. He was afraid of me. Not of losing me. Not of hurting me. Afraid of me. I'm not becoming anything, I said. I'm just stopping. He didn't understand that. I could see it in his eyes. He didn't understand what I meant. He didn't understand that I'd been giving everything I had to his family for 6 years, and he'd been taking it for granted, and I was finally done. I walked out of the kitchen. I walked upstairs. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop and started drafting an email to Peter. I didn't send it. I just drafted it. I wanted to see what it looked like. Peter, I wrote. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Has Michael been giving you money without my knowledge, and if so, how much? I found an account with $8,000 that he's been transferring to your bank. I need to know what's going on. This isn't a threat. This is just a question. But I need an answer. I read it 3 times. Then I deleted it. I didn't want to give him a chance to craft a response. I wanted to show up. I wanted to see his face. I picked up my phone instead. I called him. He answered on the second ring. Elena. He sounded cheerful. That was the thing about Peter. He always sounded cheerful. Even when he was asking for money, he sounded like he was doing you a favor. How are you? Not great. I need to ask you something. Sure. Everything okay? Michael hid $8,000 from me. He transferred it to your bank account. I need to know what it was for. Silence. A long silence. I could hear him breathing. He was a heavy breather. You could always tell when Peter was on the phone because you could hear his lungs. Elena, he said slowly. I don't know what you're talking about. Peter. Don't. I really don't know. What bank account? Your bank. The one you use. The routing number matches. Michael said he was helping you with debt. He never helped me with anything. He said you were about to lose the house. That got him. I heard it. A sharp intake of breath. He said that. Yes. He said you had credit card debt. He said you were going to default. He's lying. I've never been late on a payment in my life. My credit score is excellent. I'm doing fine. I sat back in my chair. I looked at the laptop screen. The empty email. The blank space where I'd typed and deleted and typed again. So you're telling me, I said, that Michael has been sending $8,000 to your bank. And you don't know anything about it? I don't. I promise you. I've never seen a dime of that money. Then where is it? I don't know. I really don't. Elena, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I hung up. I didn't say goodbye. I just pressed the button and ended the call and sat there in the dark. Michael was downstairs. I could hear him moving around the kitchen, opening cabinets, closing them. The sound of a man who had no idea what was about to hit him. I walked downstairs. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen. He was at the counter, pouring himself a glass of something. Whiskey. It was always whiskey when he was nervous. Peter says he doesn't know about the money, I said. He says he's never been late on a payment in his life. He says he's doing fine. I looked at my husband and he wouldn't meet my eyes. He didn't answer me. He just stood there with the whiskey glass in his hand, staring at the amber liquid like it might tell him what to say. I watched him take a sip. Then another. The ice cubes clinked against the glass, and it was the only sound in the room. Peter's lying. He said finally. Peter doesn't sound like he's lying. Peter sounds confused. Peter sounds like he has no idea what you're talking about. Of course he's confused. He's a liar. He lies all the time. You know that. I know he lies about money. I know he tells me he'll pay me back and he never does. But I also know he's not stupid. He wouldn't let $8,000 disappear without noticing. Maybe he noticed and didn't care. $8,000, Michael. He would care. He would definitely care. That's a lot of money. You don't just forget about $8,000. He set the glass down. He did it carefully, like he was defusing a bomb. I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to tell me the truth. Where did the money go? It's in Peter's account. Peter says it's not. Peter is lying. You keep saying that. You keep saying everyone is lying except you. But you're the one who hid an account from me. You're the one who transferred money without telling me. You're the one who's been telling your family I'm having a breakdown. So I don't really think you get to call anyone else a liar. He was quiet again. That was the thing about Michael. When he didn't know what to say, he said nothing. He just let the silence sit there like a wall between us. I walked over to the counter. I picked up his whiskey glass and took a sip. It burned going down. I didn't care. I took another sip. Do you remember the first time your mother asked me for money? I said. He didn't answer. It was 6 years ago. Peter had just lost his job. She called me at work. I was in a meeting. I stepped out because she was crying. She said Peter was behind on his mortgage and the bank was going to foreclose. She said she'd never ask me for anything again. She said it was just temporary. She said she'd make sure I got paid back. She was desperate. I was desperate too. I was the only one working. You were between jobs. I was supporting the entire household on one income. And I still said yes. I wrote her a check for $5,000. I didn't ask questions. I just wrote the check. That was generous of you. It was stupid of me. I know that now. But I did it because I loved you. I did it because I thought that's what family did. I thought we were a team. I thought we were in this together. We were in this together. We weren't. You were in it with them. I was just the person who paid the bills. He shook his head. The denial was automatic. He was shaking his head before I even finished the sentence. That's not true. You were always part of the family. Really, then why did your mother remove me from the group chat? Why did she let Peter's wife do it? Why didn't any of them call me? Why didn't any of them ask if I was okay? Because they're afraid of you. That's a new one. It's true. You're intimidating. You always have been. You walk into a room and you take charge. You don't need anyone. You never did. I laughed. I actually laughed. It came out like a bark. I spent 6 years being the one everyone called when they needed something. I spent 6 years saying yes to everything. I spent 6 years making sure your mother had groceries and your brother had car payments and your nieces had school supplies. And you're telling me I'm intimidating because I walk into a room and take charge. You're not hearing me. I'm hearing you perfectly. You're telling me I'm the problem because I'm too competent. Because I'm too organized. Because I'm not weak enough for you to feel like a man. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. You needed me to be the strong one so you could be the good one. You needed me to be the provider so you could be the hero. You needed me to be the villain so you could be the victim. Enough is enough. It is. It really is. I walked away from the counter. I walked out of the kitchen and up the stairs and I didn't look back. I went to my desk and opened my laptop and started printing. I printed every page of the spreadsheet. Every transaction. Every text. Every promise. I printed it all. It took an hour. When I was done, I had a stack of paper that was almost 2 inches thick. I put it in a binder. I tabbed it by year. I added a cover page that said, Elena's negativity. I wrote it in bold font. Underneath it I wrote the total, $14,200. I carried the binder downstairs. Michael was still in the kitchen. He'd finished the whiskey. He was sitting at the table with his head in his hands. What's that? He said. Christmas dinner. He looked up. What? I'm going to bring this to Christmas dinner. I'm going to pass it around. I'm going to let everyone see what 6 years of family help looks like. And then I'm going to ask them to add me back to the group chat. He stood up. He was angry now. I could see it in the way his hands were shaking. You're not serious. I'm completely serious. You can't do that. It's Christmas. It's a family gathering. You can't just. I can. I am. I'm going to get my money back. Or I'm going to get an apology. One or the other. Elena, this is insane. You're going to destroy everyone's Christmas. Good. What? I said good. I want them to remember this Christmas. I want them to sit at that table and think about what they did. I want your mother to look at that binder and realize how much I gave her. I want your brother to see every text he sent me asking for money. I want everyone to see the number and know that I saw it too. He stared at me. He didn't have anything to say. That was the first time I'd seen him truly speechless in 22 years. Stop. You're going to regret this, he said. You're going to regret this so much. I'm going to regret not doing it sooner. He walked out. He grabbed his coat and his keys, and he walked out the front door. I heard his car start. I heard it pull out of the driveway. I stood in the middle of the living room with the binder in my hands and listened to him leave. Christmas was in 3 days. I didn't see Michael for the next 3 days. He didn't come home. He didn't call. He didn't text. I didn't check on him. I didn't ask where he was. I just went about my business. I wrapped gifts. I cooked food. I took the binder out of my filing cabinet and looked at it every night before bed. I thought about calling my sister in Illinois. I thought about telling her what was happening. I didn't call. I didn't want to explain it. I didn't want to hear her say, "Are you sure you're doing the right thing?" I was sure. I'd never been more sure of anything. Christmas morning, I woke up alone. The house was quiet. It was the first Christmas morning I'd spent alone in 22 years. I made coffee. I ate toast. I put the binder in my bag and drove to Margaret's house. The house looked the same as always. Festive. Christmas lights in the windows. A wreath on the door. I could hear music playing inside. I parked in the driveway. I walked up the front steps and rang the doorbell. Margaret answered. Her face went white when she saw me. Elena, she said. I didn't think you were coming. I'm invited. I'm always invited. I'm family. You are. She stepped aside. I walked in. The living room was full. Peter and his wife and their 3 kids. Michael wasn't there. That was the first thing I noticed. Michael wasn't there. Where's Michael? I said. He's not coming, Margaret said. Why not? He said he wasn't feeling well. He's lying. He's fine. He's just afraid of me. Nobody said anything. The room was completely silent. The kids were staring at me. Peter was staring at me. His wife was staring at me. Margaret was staring at me. All right, I said. Let's get this over with. I put the stack of paper in my bag and walked into the dining room. The dining room looked like a magazine spread. Margaret had outdone herself. The good china, the crystal, the centerpiece she'd been using since Michael was a kid. I'd helped her polish that centerpiece a dozen times over the years. I'd stood in this room and arranged napkins and set out place cards and made sure everyone had the right fork. I walked to my usual seat. Nobody had taken it. That surprised me. I sat down and put my bag on the floor beside me. Are you going to say grace? I asked Margaret. She blinked. We usually do it before we eat. Then let's eat first. Peter's wife shot me a look. I ignored it. The kids were whispering to each other. I heard one of them say something about Aunt Elena being weird. I didn't care. Margaret brought out the food. Turkey. Mashed potatoes. Green beans. The same meal we'd had every Christmas for as long as I could remember. I filled my plate. I ate. I made conversation with the kids about school. I asked Peter about his job. I complimented Margaret on her gravy. Everyone was pretending. That's what I noticed. Everyone was pretending nothing was wrong. Michael wasn't there and nobody mentioned it. I'd shown up with a binder full of receipts and nobody mentioned it. We were eating turkey like it was a normal Christmas. I let them pretend for an hour. I let them eat and talk and laugh and pretend. Then I wiped my mouth and set my napkin on the table and reached for my bag. Before we do gifts, I said, I have something I want to share. Margaret's face went white again. Peter looked at his wife. His wife looked at her plate. The kids finally stopped whispering. I've been keeping records, I said. Records of every time someone in this family asked me for money. Every text. Every Venmo request. Every promise to pay me back. I didn't start it to be petty. I started it because I'm an accountant and it's how my brain works. Nobody said anything. Over the last 6 years, I've given this family $14,200. Not loaned. Given. I never expected to see it back. I told myself it was family helping family. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself that's what you do for the people you love. I pulled the binder out of my bag. I set it on the table. It landed with a thud that seemed louder than it should have been. But I got kicked out of the group chat for being negative. For asking one question about what people actually need versus what they want. So I figured if I'm going to be the negative one, I might as well earn it. I opened the binder. I pulled out the first stack of papers. I passed them to Margaret on my left. Here's my negativity, I said. Pass it around. She took the papers. She looked at them. Her hand was shaking. She passed them to Peter without saying anything. Peter looked at them. His face went red. He passed them to his wife. His wife looked at them, and then looked at me, and then looked back at the papers like they might bite her. Keep going, I said. There's more. I passed out another stack. And another. And another. Everyone at that table got a copy. Even the kids. The oldest one was 16. She could read. She could see exactly how much her father had borrowed over the years and never repaid. $14,200, I said. That's the total. That's what I've given this family. And I'm not asking for it back. I'm not going to demand repayment. I'm not going to sue anyone. I'm not going to do any of that. I paused. I waited until everyone was looking at me. All I want is to be added back to the group chat. Silence. Complete silence. I could hear the clock ticking on the mantelpiece. I could hear someone breathing. I could hear my own heart beating. That's it, I said. That's all I want. Add me back. Apologize. Tell me I'm not negative. Tell me I'm not the problem. That's the price of $14,000. Margaret was the first to speak. We can't add you back. Why not? Because you're not. She stopped. She looked at Peter. She looked at his wife. She looked back at me. You're not in the family anymore. Excuse me, I talked to Michael. After you came to my house. I asked him what was going on. He told me he told me things. About you. About your work. About your behavior. He said you needed help. Professional help. He said we should keep our distance until you got better. I looked at Peter. Is that what he told you? Peter didn't meet my eyes. And you believed him, I said. You believed him over me. He's my brother. He's your brother. And I'm just the one who paid your mortgage. I'm just the one who bought your kids' school supplies. I'm just the one who covered your car repairs and your utility bills and your groceries. I did all of that, and you believed him when he said I needed help. Elena, don't explain. I don't want to hear it. I stood up. I walked to the end of the table where the kids were sitting. I picked up the stack of papers in front of the oldest one. I looked at it. It was the list of Venmo requests. She'd been a kid when I started sending money to her family. She didn't understand any of this. You know what I said. Forget it. Forget the apology. Forget the group chat. I don't want to be in it anyway. Margaret opened her mouth to say something. I held up my hand. Now add me back or pay me back. Those are the options. I walked back to my seat. I sat down. I picked up my fork and took a bite of mashed potatoes. These are really good, Margaret. You outdid yourself. Nobody ate after that. Nobody talked. The kids stared at their plates. Peter's wife was crying silently. Peter looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. Margaret looked like she was calculating something in her head. I finished my mashed potatoes. I had a second helping of turkey. I poured myself a glass of wine. I was calm. I was the calmest person at that table. This isn't fair, Peter finally said. What isn't fair? You springing this on us at Christmas? In front of the kids. It wasn't fair that you asked me for money and never paid it back. It wasn't fair that you called me negative for asking a question. It wasn't fair that I got removed from the group chat without anyone telling me why. So yeah, you're right. This isn't fair. But I've been the only one being fair for 6 years. I think I'm allowed to be unfair for one day. I'm not paying you back, he said. Then I'm not leaving. What? I said I'm not leaving. I'm staying here until someone adds me back. Or until someone pays me back. I can wait. I've got all day. I've got all week. I've got nowhere to be. Margaret stood up. You can't stay here. I can. I'm family. That's what you keep telling me. I'm family. Family stays. This is ridiculous. Then add me back. It's a button on your phone. It takes 30 seconds. She was silent. Add me back, I said. Or pay me back. Those are the choices. Pick one. Peter's wife spoke up for the first time. She was still crying. We don't have that kind of money. Then add me back. It's not that simple. It's very simple. You open the group chat. You press the button. You apologize for kicking me out. That's it. That's all I'm asking. Margaret was shaking her head. She was doing it slowly, like she was trying to convince herself that this wasn't happening. You're being unreasonable. I'm being exactly as reasonable as I've always been. I'm just not being quiet about it anymore. I picked up my wine glass. I took a sip. I looked around the table. The kids were still staring at me. Peter's wife was still crying. Peter was gripping the edge of the table like he was about to flip it over. I'll give you until the end of dinner, I said. After that, I'm calling a lawyer. Margaret gasped. You wouldn't. I would. I absolutely would. I have documentation. I have texts. I have spreadsheets. I have everything I need to prove that I gave this family money and you never repaid it. I'm not saying I'd win. I'm just saying I'd make your life very, very difficult. You're bluffing. I'm not. I've got my sister on speed dial. She's a paralegal. She knows people. And if I call her, she'll tell me exactly what to do. I was lying about the sister being a paralegal. She was a receptionist. But they didn't know that. I watched them look at each other. I watched them communicate with their eyes. I watched Peter shake his head. I watched Margaret press her lips together. Fine, Margaret said. Fine. I'll add you back. No, you won't. What do you can't add me back? I know you can't. Peter's wife is the one who runs the chat. She's the only one who knows how to do it. You couldn't add me back if you tried. Margaret looked at Peter's wife. Peter's wife was already scrolling through her phone. She was trying to figure out how to reverse what she'd done. Don't bother, I said. I don't want to be in it. I told you that already. I don't want to be part of a family that treats me like this. I don't want to be in a group chat where people call me negative for asking questions. I don't want any of it. Then what do you want? I want my money back. All of it. $14,200. You have 30 days. Elena, you have 30 days. After that, I'm going to take legal action. I'm not threatening you. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. I stood up. I picked up my bag. I walked to the front door and opened it and stepped outside. The cold air hit me. It was nice. It was clean. It was the first clean thing I'd felt in days. I walked to my car. I got in. I sat there for a long time with my hands on the steering wheel. The payment came through at 11:47 that night. The payment came through at 11:47 that night. I was lying in bed, still in my clothes, staring at the ceiling. The phone buzzed on the nightstand. I picked it up and looked at the notification. Venmo. From Peter. $14,200. No message. Just the number. Just the money I'd been giving them for 6 years, returned to me in a single transaction that probably emptied every account he had. I stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't feel victorious. I felt nothing. Just a dull, hollow ache where something used to be. I put the phone down and went to sleep. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Michael. He'd been gone for 3 days. He'd skipped Christmas. He'd let me walk into his mother's house alone and do what I did without a single word of support or objection. He'd abandoned me. That was the word. Abandoned. He texted me at 7 a.m. We need to talk. I didn't answer. I got up and made coffee and sat in the living room and looked at the Christmas tree. I hadn't taken it down yet. I didn't have the energy. At 8 a.m., he texted again. I'm coming over. I didn't tell him not to. I didn't tell him to come. I just sat there and drank my coffee and waited. He showed up at 9 a.m. He looked terrible. His eyes were red. His clothes were wrinkled. He hadn't shaved. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days, and maybe he hadn't. Maybe that was the only good thing about any of this. That he was suffering too. He stood in the doorway of the living room and looked at me. Elena. Sit down. He sat down in the armchair across from me. He didn't sit on the couch next to me. He sat in the chair. That was something. I need to explain, he said. I don't want an explanation. Then what do you want? I want you to tell me the truth. All of it. No more lies. No more deflection. No more pretending I'm the problem. I want to know why you did it. He was quiet for a long time. I let him be quiet. I'd stopped filling the silence. I'd stopped making it easier for him. I was scared, he finally said. Of what? Of losing everything. Of not being enough. Of you realizing you didn't need me. I looked at my husband. My husband of 22 years. The man who'd promised to take care of me and then let me take care of everyone else. He was afraid of me. He'd been afraid of me for years, and he'd been hiding it by making me the villain. So you told your family I was losing my job, I said. You told them I was having a breakdown. You hid money from me. You made me the bad guy so you could feel like the good one. I didn't know you did. Don't deny it. You did all of it. And I want to know why. Because I was scared. Okay, I was scared that you'd leave me. I was scared that you'd figure out you were better than me. I was scared that you'd see me for what I really am. And what is that? As someone who can't keep up. Someone who needs you to be the strong one so he can feel like he's not weak. Someone who takes everything you give and still feels like he's drowning. I didn't say anything. I let his words hang in the air between us. I've been living in your shadow for years, he said. You're the one with the job. The one with the money. The one everyone calls when they need something. You're the one who walks into a room and everyone listens to. And I'm just your husband. I'm just the guy who married a successful woman and can't measure up. You measured up just fine when you were spending my money on your family. That wasn't about you. That was about me. I wanted to be the one who could help them. I wanted to be the one they came to. But I didn't have anything to give. So I gave what you had. I'm not a ATM. I'm not a bank. I'm your wife. I know. You treated me like a resource. Like a means to an end. You used me to make yourself feel important. And when I started asking questions, you made me the enemy. He didn't deny it. He just sat there with his head in his hands. I watched him. I watched the man I'd married. The man I'd loved for more than half my life. I watched him, and I felt something break inside me. I'm not angry, I said. He looked up. I'm not angry. That's the part that's going to scare you most. I'm not angry because I don't have the energy for anger. I'm not angry because I'm done. I'm not angry because it took me 6 years and $14,000 and a group chat to realize that you were never going to choose me first. I'm sorry. You're sorry for being caught. You're sorry for being found out. You're not sorry for what you did. You're not sorry for lying to your family about me. You're not sorry for hiding the money. You're not sorry for making me feel like I was the problem. You're sorry that I found out. He didn't say anything. I loved you, I said. I thought that was enough. I thought if I was good enough, you'd love me back. I thought if I worked hard enough, you'd see my worth. I thought if I gave everything I had, you'd choose me first. Elena, but you didn't. You chose them. You always chose them. And I'm done thinking love is something I have to prove. I stood up. I walked to my bag and pulled out the envelope I'd prepared the night before. I walked back and handed it to him. What's this? He said. Legal separation papers. I filed them yesterday. He opened the envelope. He looked at the papers. His face went pale. You filed without telling me. I filed without giving you a choice. You had 6 years to make a different decision. You didn't. Elena, please. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can or we can't. You had 22 years to try, Michael. You didn't. You spent those years making me feel like I was the one who wasn't good enough. And I believed you. I believed you because I loved you. But I don't love you anymore. And that's not a threat. That's not a negotiation. That's just a fact. He started crying. I'd never seen him cry before. Not once in 22 years. He cried and he begged and he said all the things I'd wanted to hear for so long. He said he loved me. He said he'd change. He said he'd make it right. I listened to him. I let him cry. I let him beg. And then I walked out of the room. I went to my desk. I opened my laptop. I wrote an email to my boss and told him I was taking a leave of absence. I wrote an email to my sister and told her I was coming to visit. I booked a flight to Illinois. I packed a bag. Michael was still in the living room when I came downstairs. He was still crying. He was still begging. I walked past him. Where are you going? He said. I'm going to my sister's. I'm going to stay for a while. I'm going to figure out what comes next. What about us? There's no us. There hasn't been an us for a long time. I just didn't realize it until now. I walked out the front door. I didn't look back. I got in my car and drove to the airport. I didn't cry. I didn't feel sad. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt free. The flight to Illinois was 3 hours. I sat by the window and watched the clouds and thought about everything that had happened. The group chat. The spreadsheet. The Christmas dinner. The payment that came through at 11:47. I thought about the first time I met Michael. I'd been 25. He'd been charming and funny, and he'd made me feel like I was the center of the world. I'd thought that feeling would last forever. I'd thought that was what love was. It wasn't. Love was what I did for his family for 6 years. Love was the money I gave without complaining. Love was the silence I kept when I felt like I was drowning. Love was everything I gave and everything I never got back. But I was done giving. I was done hoping. I was done being the one who held everything together while everyone else fell apart. I landed in Illinois at 2 p.m. My sister picked me up at the airport. She didn't ask questions. She just hugged me and drove me to her house and made me tea. Are you okay? She said. I don't know yet. That's okay. You don't have to be okay. I know. She left me alone in her guest room. I sat on the bed and opened my phone. There was a text from Michael. He'd sent it an hour ago. Please come back. We can fix this. I typed a response. I'm not coming back. I'm not fixing anything. I'm done. I sent it. Then I blocked his number. I sat there in my sister's guest room and looked at the wall and thought about the payment. $14,200. It was sitting in my checking account. I'd have to pay taxes on it. I'd have to figure out what to do with it. But I'd do that later. For now, I just wanted to sit there. I checked my phone one more time. There was a notification from Venmo. It was from Michael. He'd sent me a request for $8,000. The money he'd hidden. The money he'd transferred to Peter. He was asking for it back. I stared at the screen. I couldn't help it. I laughed. I laughed so hard, I had to put the phone down. He didn't have a leg to stand on. He'd hidden that money from me. He'd transferred it without my permission. There was no paper trail. No signed documents. No evidence that I'd agreed to anything. It was just his word against mine. But here's the thing about Michael. He was a terrible liar. He'd always been a terrible liar. And I had proof. I picked up my phone. I didn't respond. I just let the request sit there. Let him wait. Let him wonder if I was going to pay it back. Let him feel what it felt like to be at someone's mercy. He'd never understand what he did to me. He'd never understand that I wasn't angry anymore. He'd never understand that the opposite of love wasn't hate. It was indifference. I was indifferent. I was free. I was going to be okay. I closed my phone. I lay down on the bed and closed my eyes. I didn't dream. I just slept. I slept for the first time in weeks without waking up in the middle of the night. When I woke up, my sister was standing in the doorway. Michael called. She said. I blocked him. He called me. He's been calling everyone. He's trying to find you. Let him try. What should I tell him? Tell him I'm not coming back. Tell him I'm not interested. Tell him the papers are already filed and there's nothing he can do to stop it. She nodded. She looked at me for a long time. You're really done. I'm really done. Good, she said. I never liked him anyway. I laughed. I laughed again. I couldn't help it. I know, I said. You told me that at the wedding. I told you that at the wedding. I was being polite. I actually thought he was a waste of space. Well, you were right. I usually am. She walked away. I sat up. I looked at my phone. There were 34 missed calls from Michael. 17 texts. I deleted all of them without reading. I thought about the payment. I thought about the group chat. I thought about the Christmas dinner and the spreadsheets and the look on Margaret's face when I passed around the papers. I'd done what I said I was going to do. I'd showed them what negativity really looked like. And they'd paid me back. But that wasn't the end. The end was this. The end was me sitting in my sister's guest room with a blocked phone and a legal separation and $14,200 in my checking account. The end was me finally realizing that I'd been the one holding everything together and I didn't have to anymore. They paid me back. And I walked away. That's the whole story.